This for me is almost more fun than work because one, I just super enjoy getting to talk to the UK and European synergy people because I love the UK and European synergy people, and two, because I get to talk about sport, which is one of my passions. It's one of the reasons why I initially got into the supplement industry to begin with, is because I was a competitive athlete. My area of sport was very much associated with lifting heavy things. I have been, I guess, not really professional because I didn't make any money at it, but I was a fairly competitive power lifter. I have some world records in squat, bench press, and total. And I built probably about 15 to 20 years of my life around training, lifting, optimizing my body for sport. Because I'm a scientist also, my approach to sport was very much one of learning how to optimize my body, using tools like nutrition, like different types of training. I have been a personal trainer. I have been a nutrition coach. One thing that I started to really capitalize on, especially as I got older, when I was in my 20s, I figured I could do anything and I didn't need supplements. But as I got older, supplements, I wish I had started younger because they really did help me bridge the gap a little bit and enhance my performance. One thing that I really think is important, especially in the context of synergy, is the idea that muscles don't fail. The reason why we can't perform is more because of the systems around the muscles fail. It could be that your nervous system, your neuromotor synapses are no longer functioning well. You're no longer firing in a coordinated way. It could be something along those lines, CNS fatigue, that type of thing. Metabolic limitation. This is actually a really, really, really big one. This is the reason why, under most circumstances, muscles fail. And that's what we're going to talk about most in this talk. Psychological and mental quit. That is huge. Most people quit, especially in endurance sports, way before their body will fail. Even in powerlifting, there is a mental strength that gives you an edge that is huge. If you decide to stop pushing yourself, you will always fail. Always. And I think that's true with lifting, with running, with pretty much every aspect of life. Your brain is what dictates your success in many, many, many cases. And then technical failure. This is often coordination. This is when the muscle fibers aren't being recruited in the correct way. So the muscles start to fail due to lack of form. Form breaks down. When we're talking about that metabolic failure, one of the main reasons why we fail is because we're not getting enough oxygen. When you're exercising, your muscles use a lot more oxygen than when you're sitting down. It's the reason why you're burning more calories. If I'm doing a max effort lift, or if I am running, the more effort that I'm putting into something, the more muscles that are being recruited, the more oxygen I'm using, because my body is using a significant amount of fuel. I need oxygen to convert carbohydrates or glycogen, stored carbohydrates, into ATP, which is my actual energy currency. That's what my muscle is actually going to use. There's a major correlation between my body's ability or readiness to deliver oxygen and my muscles' ability to continue to perform. And this actually plays a huge role as far as both Pro-arginine and Pro-360 Beets. And we're going to get into that more later. If I don't get enough oxygen in my system, I'm shifting to an anaerobic type performance, and it's significantly less efficient as far as converting glycogen into energy. It creates significantly more byproducts, and I can only continue to exercise in an anaerobic fashion for a very short period of time. That's my last rep. That's if I'm sprinting full speed. I mean, maybe if I'm an Olympic caliber athlete, I can sprint for 400 meters. But your average person, they start to fail before 100 meters. And that's because anaerobic respiration is inefficient. We don't have clearance to get rid of the metabolic byproducts, and we don't have enough oxygen to be able to continue going at a high level for a long time. So we fatigue much, much, much faster. And this goes into VO2 max, which is basically a measure of how hard I can push and still get enough oxygen into my system to be able to maintain that exercise. Energy is not used up. It just can't be regenerated fast. Our bodies are constantly regenerating energy. ATP is being used literally all the time. We go from ADP to ATP and back to ADP all the time, going back and forth in the mitochondria. When we think about energy, when we think about exercise, one of the most important things is our mitochondrial function and our ability to convert ADP into ATP and keep that recycling happening quickly and efficiently. And again, oxygen is a major limiting factor in this. Also, substrate delivery. And I wasn't going to talk about product yet, but this is really one of the reasons why D-ribose is such an important part of our proarginine. D-ribose is that sugar molecule that is the reason why it says it has sugar in it, that everybody is concerned about, that people ask questions, why does proarginine have sugar? It's this D-ribose sugar. It's this energy sugar. It's this building block sugar. It is a critical piece, a critical substrate that allows for the reconstruction of ATP. In the context of cardiovascular health, that's super important. But in the context of exercise, it's also critically important because that's one of those system failures that happens that leads to no longer being able to run, no longer being able to lift, no longer being able to perform whatever exercise you're doing. This is probably the single biggest factor that leads people to fail in exercise. And that is that metabolic byproducts, wastes build up. As we utilize oxygen, we're creating carbon dioxide. As we utilize ATP, as we build ATP, I guess, we're creating things like hydrogen ions, lactate, lactic acid buildup. You have to be able to shuttle all of these metabolic byproducts out of the system while you're bringing in new building blocks so that you can continue to have this metabolic process where we're creating ATP. We need those building blocks in, we need the garbage out. And eventually, the garbage builds up too much, and we have more garbage, and that actually creates things like localized spikes in pH. One of the reasons why if I do curls for a long time, I start to get that burn in my muscle, it's actually because of localized pH spikes. The other thing that causes damage to muscles during exercise, whenever my mitochondria are actively being used, they are creating reactive oxygen species. Mitochondria work through an electron transport system that basically builds ATP. Moves electrons around, builds ATP, and that creates reactive oxygen species, free radicals. If I can't deal with those free radicals well, that's another rate limiting factor as far as exercise goes. If blood flow and cellular metabolism are limited, I can't get the new building blocks in, and I start to get buildup of these metabolic byproducts, local acidosis, and muscle contraction just doesn't work anymore. Electrical systems. This one we're going to talk about a little bit less later on. Our nerves basically work through electricity. That's the way our nerves talk to our muscles. We use chemical electricity. It's ion gradients. That's what signals a muscle to contract. It is calcium gradient across the cellular membrane. So electricity is really, really important. Electrolyte balance is really, really important. We're going to talk about it a little bit less, but if you're exercising, maintaining good, healthy electrolyte balance is critical. That's one of the reasons why there's so many different electrolyte drinks out there on the market, because salt balance is important. Magnesium balance is important. Calcium balance is all those things are important. The most critical thing as far as the metabolic loss of function in muscles is blood flow regulation. Your body has multiple mechanisms for enhancing or controlling blood flow. One of them we should all be really familiar with, and that's nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the main signal molecule in your body for blood flow enhancement when your body is at rest. And we're going to go into some of the differences between proarginine and Pro 360 Beets, because there are some differences in how nitric oxide is created for both of those products. And it leads to difference in how they function in the body, especially in the context of exercise. And it really, they're very complementary products. People always say, "Oh, which one would you use, proarginine or Pro 360 Beets?" I always say both. When I'm exercising, I take both, and we're going to talk about some of the reasons. There's other blood flow enhancing molecules that happen as a result of exercise, but we're going to focus on nitric oxide because that's where we can directly add very easily through supplementation to change our body to be better at waste removal, to be better at nutrient delivery, to be better at oxygen delivery. And that hugely impacts exercise and exercise performance. When we talk about blood flow, we better be talking about ProArginine and Pro360 Beets, right? Because these are really, there is literally no better pair of blood flow products in the world than these two blood flow products. I would say our ProArginine is the best cardiovascular health product in the world. I 100% believe that. We have that brand new press release that came out not that long ago that announced ProArginine as the number one L-arginine product in the world, which is super, super awesome. Our Pro360 Performance Beets is a cardiovascular health product. It works slightly differently than ProArginine, but I would say it is the premier sports performance blood flow enhancing product in the world. And I'm going to talk about a little bit why. There's these two pathways for enhancing blood flow in the body. One is our L-arginine ProArginine eNOS pathway. eNOS is an enzyme that is expressed in the vascular epithelium. So all along the inside of your arteries and blood vessels, you have an endothelium, an endothelial lining, and that lining has this enzyme expressed in it. When this enzyme comes into contact with arginine under the proper conditions, it creates nitric oxide. This is very local. It's something that happens in the arteries and blood vessels. It's something that's very, very tied to the vascular endothelium. It enhances blood flow. That's what it does. And it's local to that specific area. It requires oxygen. And this is actually one of the big points of differentiation. If I have no oxygen, if I'm in a hypoxic condition, the process of creating nitric oxide from arginine doesn't happen. That has some importance as far as exercise goes. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. The second pathway is dietary nitrates. Dietary nitrates converting to nitrites. This mostly starts to happen just with the bacteria breaking down the nitrates in our mouth even to nitrites. And then that converts to nitric oxide in the body. It's not as localized as the nitric oxide production from L-arginine. And this actually means that there's some other physiological changes that happens when I am taking my Pro360 Performance Beets. I also have the potential for nitric oxide acting as a signal molecule in other areas that enhances things like AMPK activity, that changes mitochondrial efficiency, that actually can potentially push mitochondria to start to become more dense in the muscle tissue. So there's actually some physiological changes that can happen just because of the addition of these extra dietary nitrates leading to nitric oxide that's a little bit more systemic. When it comes to these two products, you have a little bit of a difference as far as what's happening in your body. If I take ProArginine every day, my body becomes more and more adapted towards being able to enhance blood flow quickly as needed. Even if I just take ProArginine one time, I have increased endothelial responsiveness. And this is actually really, really important. If I am starting my exercise, and this happens to me, even when I'm in relatively good shape, if I get on the treadmill and start running, the first 2 minutes are absolute torture because my body is too slow to respond. I'm not getting enough oxygen yet. It's one of the reasons why it's better if you warm up. It take a little bit of time to get your body adapted, warm up, get things moving, and then you can go a little bit faster and still maintain pace. ProArginine, because it enhances endothelial responsiveness, and this is an adaptation that happens the more you take it, your body's ready to respond more quickly. If I make a sudden change from no activity to moderate activity, I can make that adaptation. If I make a sudden change from moderate activity to suddenly I'm sprinting, I can make that adaptation without being tired, without getting exhausted as quickly. That endothelial responsiveness and really also the change in vascular tone regulation and the vascular resilience, all of those go into making that quick adaptation from less activity to more activity. And it's really, really important when it comes to sport. Maybe a little bit less if you're just running a marathon at the exact same pace the whole time, but if you are doing any sort of an active sport, like we call it soccer in the US, football, most of the rest of the world, you're always changing speeds. You're always doing different things. If you're skiing, you're increasing effort at different points in time. Any of those types of things, when you're modulating effort, it allows your body to respond faster. Really, really important. You're also recovering, or you're also helping with ATP recovery with pro-arginine. Obviously, you're supporting nitric oxide signaling capacity, and this is really important. As you take pro-arginine over time, you actually increase expression of endothelial nitric oxide synthase. You let your body become more adapted to being able to do these things quickly and to react more acutely to nitric oxide that is formed in the body. One also really important thing that this is something that's important for me is pro-arginine specifically helps to maintain vascular function with aging. And that's something that, I mean, if you're in your 20s and you're an athlete and you're working out, maybe it's a little less important to you, but for the rest of us, we want to be able to not necessarily run a marathon in 2 hours. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for being able to go on a hike with my family. And that's what that maintaining vascular function with aging allows me to do. It allows me to perform when I need to perform as though I have a younger physiological age as far as my cardiovascular system is concerned. Pro360 Performance Beets. Remember I said that in the creation of nitric oxide with pro-arginine, it requires oxygen. With our Pro360 Performance Beets, we can create nitric oxide without oxygen. And this is actually really, really important. It actually, during exercise, when you start to approach VO2 max, you start to actually lose oxygen, it actually kicks in this mechanism for creating nitric oxide from the dietary nitrates. So you get an increase in nitric oxide from our performance beets that allows for enhanced blood flow specifically in that type of a situation that increases oxygen economy, reduces the amount of oxygen or the oxygen demand, the difficulty, I guess, in getting oxygen to muscles during submaximal exercise. This is actually super important because, so we're going to talk for a second about VO2 max, because VO2 max, it's one of those, if you're a sports nutrition junkie, VO2 max is one of those things that everybody throws around this type of term, respiratory exchange rate, those types of things. What that is, it means, respiratory exchange rate is basically as I exercise and breathe out, I get a different amount of gases in my, whatever I exhale, different amount of oxygen, different amount of CO2. And I can tell based on my respiratory exchange rate, what amount of carbohydrates I'm burning versus what amount of fats I'm burning. And if you look on the treadmill, if you ever go to the gym and look on a treadmill, it recommends that you keep a very, very slow, deliberate pace in order to burn body fat when you're on a treadmill. The reason it does that is because at lower levels of exertion, lower percent of your VO2 max, you're actually burning more fat as a fuel source. Now, you can track this based on your respiratory exchange rate, the different combination of those gases in the gases that you exhale. And you can see that as you approach your VO2 max, you'll start to go from fat burning to carbohydrate burning. And where that happens depends a lot on the individual. But eventually, as you get to a high percentage of your VO2 max, you're burning pretty much pure carbohydrates. Eventually, you run out of carbohydrates. And as you get closer and closer to your VO2 max, eventually you also are not getting enough oxygen to continue to burn carbohydrates efficiently. Fat, beta oxidation of fat, the utilization of fat in exercise requires a significant amount of oxygen. Carbs, a little bit less, but still some oxygen, reasonable amount of oxygen. Until you get to the point where you're totally anaerobic, you can still burn carbs for a short amount of time, but then eventually those metabolic byproducts really build up and you can't keep up with demand because it's not very efficient. The higher your VO2 max is, the more effort you can put in and still maintain that anaerobic type of exercise, the more effort you can maintain and still be burning fat, those types of things. By taking Pro360 Beets, because it's enhancing your ability to get oxygen, even during submaximal exercise, it starts to push your VO2 max higher and higher. You can actually burn fat at a bigger amount of energy expenditure. You can stay aerobic at a bigger amount of energy expenditure. You can exercise longer, harder, and maintain a higher level of exercise before you start to fatigue, before you start to fully get exhausted. It also starts to improve your tolerance to high intensity exercise so that you can push that VO2 max more and more and more. And this allows your body to adapt to become better at endurance exercise. It even has an effect on lifting, and not endurance exercise, but resistance exercise, because people don't realize it, but when you're lifting, the reason why you fail is still because you're going anaerobic at some point. Heavier weights make your body go anaerobic faster because you're demanding energy immediately from mitochondria all over your muscle tissue. But the more you can push that VO2 max, the longer you can lift without failure as well. Even though they're kind of similar products on the surface, they both enhance blood flow. The mechanism is quite different, and it matters even more for sport than it does for general cardiovascular health. If I am your average person on the street and I'm not concerned about exercise, I'll take my ProArginine and I'll take my Pro 360 Beets every day, because it's enhancing blood flow in multiple ways, and it's helping my cardiovascular health, and it's helping improve my vascular endothelial health, basically making me less likely to have issues, cardiometabolic issues. But if I'm an athlete, I'm going to take them for even more reasons, because one is prepping my body to be able to handle a workload, and the other is increasing the workload that I can handle. The analogy that I would use here, ProArginine, it's kind of like your infrastructure. It's your road. If you have traffic, if you have a lot of traffic trying to get in and out of the city, the infrastructure is super, super important. Performance Beets is kind of like the flow of traffic. It allows traffic to move more efficiently. It allows traffic to flow more smoothly so that more things can go in. But the roads and the traffic flow are both really, really important. I want to kind of talk a little bit more about this difference with the physiological adaptation from the Pro 360 Beets and how it's different than the ProArginine. ProArginine, I'm getting that increased eNOS expression. I'm getting that improved vascular adaptation. Because I have this nitric oxide that's happening outside of the vascular endothelium, I'm getting additional systemic things like this PGC1 alpha. That is a new name for PPAR gamma, which is one of the main energy mitochondrial. It's an enzyme that's associated with mitochondrial energy. AMPK is associated with fat burning. What happens here, because I'm regulating these enzymes, I'm actually improving mitochondrial efficiency. There's even some evidence that shows that I can increase mitochondrial biogenesis, leading to more mitochondrial density in the muscle tissue. So it's really, really strongly tied to exercise signaling pathways. Why both? If I'm resting, then, and I'm just taking one or the other, I'll have limited vessel responsiveness. With both, I have optimized baseline blood flow. During the beginning of exercise, slower vascular adjustment with just one. With both, faster blood flow matching demand. During intense effort, nitric oxide production limited by oxygen. With both systems, I actually have both nitrate and nitric oxide pathways active. During sustained training, I get uneven support with just one. With two, continuous vascular metabolic support. Really, really important to take both of these products at the same time when it comes to training. I believe that it is literally one of the best pre-workout combinations in the world. As far as like real pre-workout function that's happening in your body, this is changing your body to be able to do more work. Most pre-workouts are purely based on stimulants. There is a correlation between caffeine and sport performance. That's one of the reasons why we're going to talk about E9. But most of the pre-workouts on the market, they're not really doing anything in your body to adapt your body to be able to do more in terms of sport performance. Whereas the combination of Pro 360 Beets and ProArginine is literally changing your body to make your body better. We're going to talk about E9 next. Enhancing blood flow makes huge changes in your ability to bring in oxygen, to eliminate those metabolic waste products, to bring in the building blocks that you need to create new ATP. Really, really, really important. But there are other mechanisms that we can use to shift our bodies into a more efficient energy producing machine. And that's kind of one of the things that E9 does. When it comes to ATP production, these vitamins and minerals that are in E9 are really, really important. They actually help optimize mitochondrial function. That's what B vitamins are doing. That's why they're important in our body. And in the context of exercise, it becomes even more important. We need these B vitamins for I mean, it's called either the Krebs cycle, the citric acid cycle, tricitric acid cycle, the production of energy in mitochondria. We need them. The other aspect of E9 that's really, really, really important is these 3 herbs that are in E9. One, you're getting some caffeine from the guarana and the yerba mate, and that's part of the story. Caffeine is one of the most well-studied ergogenic molecules in the world. Ergogenic molecules are molecules that improve sport performance. Caffeine, beetroot, L-arginine, creatine, these are all known ergogenic supplements or supplement ingredients. If I add caffeine, I'm helping with some of that brain fatigue, some of the reason why people give up. And that's one of the reasons why caffeine has such a strong improvement or a strong effect on both sport performance in terms of endurance and in terms of resistance training. Caffeine also does some other things as far as stimulating catecholamine production and distribution into the blood. Catecholamines are kind of the adrenaline molecules that come out during fight or flight response. Our body has different mechanisms for basically getting ready to perform physically. If we are under stress, and I'm talking like in danger where we need to run away, we get an increase in cortisol. We get an increase in blood sugar. We get an increase in adrenaline molecules being released into our system. And that literally makes us stronger and faster than we would normally be. It is a natural biological mechanism that helps us to survive. It's somewhat mimicked by caffeine. So that gives us a bit of an advantage, taking advantage of our body's fight or flight response. And that's also one of the reasons why chronic consumption of caffeine can actually be a little bit unhealthy. In the context of sport performance, in the context of occasional use when needed, I take my E9. I mean, that's a daily product for me. I just don't take it all day long throughout the day and before I go to bed, because I need to give my body some time to relax, so my body some time to not be in that fight or flight mode. For here, I get that huge benefit. And then there's some other things about these herbs that are really important. I mentioned one of the things that one of the reasons why we fail is because of cognitive involvement. Our brain basically saying, you know what, we don't want to go anymore. When it comes to E9, this blend of herbs, you have things like chlorogenic acid and the theobromine from the yerba mate. You have some caffeine. You have some catechins. All of these things actually affect mood. They affect our perceived exertion. And that's really important. When I used to train all the time, some days I would just go to the gym not feeling good. And if I was not feeling good mentally, I was never able to get to my training goals. So if I'm taking E9 because of this blend of herbs, I'm mentally in the right place. And that allows me to be able to push and achieve success in the gym just based on my brain being in the right place. Now, I also have some really good molecules, that especially this green tea is not a green tea that's standardized to caffeine. It's actually standardized to EG, CG, and polyphenols. The catechins and the polyphenols in green tea are known to upregulate mitochondrial efficiency. They play a role in a lot of the same signaling pathways that the nitric oxide from the beets plays a role in, things like the AMPK, things like the PPAR gamma. Eventually, this starts to trigger enhanced mitochondrial efficiency and can help with the performance beats in triggering some of those mitochondrial biogenesis effects to where my body over time starts to become better at producing energy. If I take this entire combination of products, I get basically an immediate effect where I can perform better on day one. If I take this before I train for the very first time, never taken it before, I'm going to perform better. If I take it every single day, all of these adaptations start to build up over time. There are physiological benefits where my body literally starts to grow and change because of these products. Things like increased mitochondrial biogenesis, increasing mitochondrial density, allowing my body to produce more energy because I have more of those little energy engines in my muscle cells. Things like, it's called angiogenesis, but increased, there's potentially increase for new blood vessel formation. And this is really important because, yeah, I can increase blood flow all I want, but if I'm actually increasing the number of blood vessels that are leading to my muscles, That gives me a whole new set of pathways to deliver oxygen, to deliver nutrients, and to remove waste. I become more and more and more efficient because of that. I'm having improvements in my vascular tone, in my endothelial responsiveness, so that I can go from 0 to 60 really fast and not suffer. Taking all of these products together, this is my pre-workout blend. I love this pre-workout blend. I'm getting older. I was in the gym all the time. I would work out like 3 hours, at least twice a week, 3 hours a day. And then the other days of the week, it would be an hour and a half or so. Now that I'm getting older, it's hard to do that. My body can't recover from that type of physical activity. I need more help in adapting to my training so that I can still make progress without that level of work that I have to put in. This allows me to continue to make progress, to continue to make adaptation without killing myself in the gym. It's less effort for more gain, basically. Taking these products, I get that increase in VO2 max, which is super, super important, because the higher my VO2 max, the more I can work without feeling like I'm working out. If I have a very low VO2 max and I want to go on a hike with my kids, I'm not going to be enjoying the hike. I'm going to be, instead of enjoying the hike, hands on my knees every 5 to 10 minutes, wondering why in the world I'm outside trying to walk uphill instead of enjoying. I mean, Utah is beautiful. Slovenia is beautiful. I was in the mountains in Slovenia as well, and we went hiking and we had fun. You can have fun if you are physically prepared to do it. If you're not, life is hard. I mean, this is like an easy button to some level of physical preparedness. In powerlifting, they call it GPP, general physical preparedness. Most powerlifters don't like to do cardiovascular exercise. A lot of powerlifters are hundreds of pounds overweight because weight moves weight, and they think the bigger they are, the more they can lift. But the best powerlifters are the ones that have a high level of general physical preparedness because they can do more every day and recover from it better. And for me, it was never, I was an elite powerlifter. I had a significant amount of world records. I squatted like 430 kilos, 440 kilos. I benched 350 kilos, deadlifted 330, 340 kilos. I've done a lot of really big lifts, but it was never about lifting. That wasn't the goal for me. It was, I wanted to enjoy training. I wanted to have a goal for my training, but I wanted to be healthy. I wanted to be able to do the things that I like to do, which, yeah, lifting is one of them. But if I'm lifting and I can't go on hikes with my kids, if I can't go out, walk to a lake and go fishing, that's where I really feel like the reason I'm exercise is to do those things. This allows me to do it with less effort putting in. And that's it. Thank you very much. I guess we do have a little bit of time for questions. Well, I would say that the combination of the Pro Arginine, the Pro 360 Beets, and the E9 is like an ideal pre-workout. You take it and you perform better in the gym. What most people don't realize is that athletic performance is really, really closely tied to overall nutrition and overall health. In that context, I mean, the main sports nutrition products that you think of that are on the market out there are pre-workouts, recovery drinks, and protein. And electrolyte drinks. Those are kind of the ones that are out there. I use Mikeom Shake on a regular basis to help me get enough protein. I use it more as a recovery protein. I don't drink it right before a workout because it actually is actively being digested. I use it, after my workout, probably 5 to 10 minutes after my workout. That's when I use my Mikeom Shake because it has a slow delivery of amino acids, which I really, really like as a post-workout type of a product. We're going to talk a little bit more about Pro 360 Greens and some of these other products next time, so I don't want to talk about that too much. But I'll just say general health, if you want to improve your athletic performance, a product like Greens is absolutely huge because it's improving your microbiome, which is critically important for gut health and athletic performance. It's improving your micronutrient intake. It's improving your polyphenol intake. Lots of good things about it, and we'll talk more about it next time. There's a question from David. When is the best time to drink all 3 products before a workout? What to drink in between workout and what after for regeneration?
Yeah.
So if I'm doing a lifting workout or a short cardiovascular workout, and by short, I mean anything less than 40 minutes, I will take all three products together about 15 minutes before I start exercising. Maybe a half an hour at the most, but I would rather take it 15 minutes to right when I start exercising than a half an hour before, because at a half an hour before, I start to lose some of the effects. If I take it right when I start working out, then by the time I'm done with my warm-ups, which I take 15 to 20 minutes for warm-ups, my body is really ready to be going into the higher intensity stuff. So right before I work out is great for the blend of those three products. If I'm doing a short workout, I don't take them during my workout. I just drink water during my workout. I make sure I stay hydrated. Then after my workout, like I said, I like Biome Shake, and I actually like a little bit of carbohydrates as well. And I could add something to my Biome Shake, like a banana, for my post workout, because that's giving me some of those carbohydrates. If I'm doing a longer workout, and by longer workout, I mean, a 2 to 3 hour workout session, I will take my Pro 360 Beets again during my workout. And sometimes I'll take my E9 again during my workout. I don't do as many long workouts anymore. I still do them occasionally, but I find that if I add in another Pro 360 Beets and another E9 during my workout becomes significantly better. And I actually blend all three of them together. I just mix them all in about 16 ounces of water and drink it, and it works fine.
Okay, and what's your favorite product? There's a question.
It's super hard. I would say that the product that I use the most consistently every single day is ProArginine. I've mentioned before, I used to have high blood pressure when I started working for Synergy. I don't anymore. I'll never stop taking ProArginine because it's going to keep me healthy forever. But I do absolutely love Pro 360 line as well. That's my second favorite piece is the Pro 360 line.
Cool. What is with ProRG and regeneration afterwards?
Okay, so this is actually something that I've talked about a little bit in the past, and that metabolic buildup, that buildup of waste products is one of the reasons why you have like delayed onset muscle soreness. And it depends on how long your workout is and what you're doing during your workout. But if I take a ProArginine Pro 360 Beets E9 before my workout, and then at the end of my workout, if it's like a 1 hour workout, it's still an effect. It really is. It's still helping with blood flow. It's still delivering fresh nutrients and flushing out metabolic waste. If it's a longer workout and I haven't had any of the Beets or anything like that during my workout, I'll actually take a ProArginine at the end of my workout. And what that does is it starts to enhance blood flow again, flush out those metabolic byproducts. And also because one of the things I love about ProArginine in the context of a recovery drink is it does have a reasonably good general antioxidant effect, which is important for some of the mechanisms as far as like helping prevent the breakdown of arginine, helping it deliver arginine better. But in the context of sport nutrition, you have just enough antioxidants to help quench some of those free radicals that are produced by the mitochondria, those reactive oxygen species, but you're not overwhelming your body with antioxidants, which can actually lead to diminished adaptation because those free radicals are actually important for the changes in my muscle. They cause changes in my muscle that allows my muscle to function better over time. So it's a great balance as a post-workout. If I haven't taken anything during my workout, if I've been going for an hour, hour and a half, take your ProArginine, and it can help with the workout recovery by flushing out the metabolic waste, quenching some, but not all of the free radicals that are happening because of that mitochondrial activity during the workout.
Okay, yeah. So it's after workout, so the second ProRG. I think E9 is also underrated because in the field, we see that there's no energy drink like this. What do we think it's really advantage of E9 towards other energy drinks?
So there's a couple of things. Most energy drinks are just based on hardcore stimulants. Their goal is to stimulate your brain, block fatigue as much as possible. Um, there's no balance. There's nothing in them that blunts the overstimulating effect of caffeine. And when I mentioned chronic consumption of caffeine can actually be a problem, you can actually be, it can cause you to be physically stressed out, especially in the context of energy drinks, because they don't have anything to buffer that effect. In E9, just the fact that you're using natural caffeine, I mean, the molecule caffeine is the molecule caffeine, whether it's natural or synthetic. If I take a yerba mate extract that's 99.9% caffeine, it's caffeine. We don't use 99.9% caffeine. We use yerba mate that has some caffeine in it. It's about 15-ish% caffeine. We use guarana that has some caffeine in it. I don't remember the exact percentage, but it's in the low percentage range, and that's an intentional choice. We use a green tea that has zero caffeine in it. That's an intentional choice because there's molecules in these plants that buffer the effect of caffeine. Theobromine, L-theanine, these types of molecules, chlorogenic acids. They calm down parts of the nervous system. They balance out the nervous system. They prevent excess stimulation of cortisol and excess stimulation of these catecholamines so that you get a good balance and you get that feeling of mentally uplifting, because caffeine does some things that basically block fatigue. Caffeine on its own doesn't have a mentally uplifting type of an effect. That's the chlorogenic acids, that's the mate-specific saponins, that's the theobromine, that's these other molecules that come in the plants that do good things in your body as well. The reason why we've consumed tea forever is because it's more than caffeine. And way better than an energy drink. E9 is closer to tea. It's just an iced tea. It also has these trace amounts of amino acids. And there's some interesting studies on trace amounts of essential amino acids stimulating protein synthesis, which is also really cool. So E9 does some other things in the body besides just blocking fatigue, which is what your average energy drink is doing.
Cool. I will ask the same question from for Beets because there's more and more Beets products. So what is the difference between our Beets and other competition?
So I would say one thing we really, I wish we didn't call it Pro 360 Performance Beets. It should be something like Pro 360 Performance Reds because it's way more than just beets. To start off, we've talked about these Himalayan beets that are quite unique. There really is no other place in the world that we could go and get whole beets that are standardized to the correct amount of nitrates to actually have the function that we need in the body. So we have a very unique form of beets. Your average beet product is a beet juice extract. And yeah, it's standardized to a similar standardization as far as nitrates go, but all you've done is taken out the nitrates and taken out the sugar. And you've left behind all the other good stuff that are in the beets, which is really important as far as overall body health, as far as gut health, all the natural soluble fibers and all the minerals and all of the vitamins that come in the beets and all of these other phytonutrients that come in the beets are left behind. So that's one key differentiating factor. And that on its own is a big, big deal. But there's also this combination of other components that allow Pro 360 Beets to work in a way that just nothing else can come close to. This blend of herbs called S7 that enhances nitric oxide production as well. The other blend of herbs are patented PC4, which reduces oxidative stress in the body. It's kind of three mechanisms all working together to improve cardiovascular health and blood flow that you're not going to see in any other Beets product. It is, I mean, we had he was new last year. He's been with Synergy and Nature Sunshine for a little over a year now. Kevin Fuller, our chief marketing officer, He's also a professional world caliber triathlete. So he does the swimming, biking, and running. And he was using a Beet product that he was spending $120 a month on. It was a little capsule that was standardized to like 50 milligrams of betaines, and he thought it was the best thing out there. He started using our Pro 360 Beets product, and that day he took like 14 seconds off his best swim time for a 500 meter. Wow. He came to me and he said, "We're going to jail. There's no way this can be legal." So it's just other level as far as the synergy of components in our Beets product. It's to me a truly beautiful formula, similar to like Pro Arginine, where I think, man, that's a sexy formula.
Good job for the Beets. So well done. And yeah, next level. And last question, because I know that you're in a hurry. But I have to close with that question. We just received the #1 claim from Euromonitor for ProRG. But again, if you can just sum up why ProRG is better than competition.
It's that synergy of components. It's the combination, the deliberate combination of arginine and citrulline that kickstarts the arginine resynthesis, so you get a longer duration of effect. It's the added antioxidants, it's the vitamins, it's that synergy of the formula. I mentioned, I just think it's a sexy formula because it was designed so well that it's been out there for what, almost 20 years now without changing, and even longer with some very small differences. It's going to be the #1 synergy product in the world pretty much forever, because it's the product that if you take this one product, you will be healthier in many different ways. We focus on cardiovascular health. There's also sports performance. There is a cognitive health aspect to it. There is gut health aspects to it. There is an anti-aging oxidative stress aspect to it. All these different things, because the formula is just truly synergistic within its components and works better than anything else out there.
So with the production of nitric oxide. Oh, towards competition.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, good. It's 8 p.m. Central European Time. So thank you, Mike. I think we covered a lot with these 3 products, amazing products. So yeah, they're next level. And we need to share this information with as many people we can. And see you all in 2 weeks, February 12th, same time, with next 3 products for sports. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.